All right, let's talk about generative AI. It's without a doubt the biggest tech revolution we've seen in a generation. But here's the thing. A brand new MIT report just dropped, and it says that most companies, they're completely failing to get any value out of it. So let's dive in and figure out what's really going on here.
So get this, in just the last year, companies have thrown a staggering $40 billion at generative AI. That's billion with a B. An incredible, massive bet on this tech. But it really begs the question, right? Where is all that cash actually going?
And this is where it gets absolutely wild. Despite that $40 billion gamble, a whopping 95% of these organizations are getting zero return on their investment. I'm not talking about a small return or a disappointing one. I mean nothing. Zilch. This isn't just a slow start, folks. This is a colossal failure to launch. Which naturally brings us to the $40 billion question. If everyone is spending all this money, why is almost no one winning? The money is there, the hype is definitely there, but the results, they're just missing. Let's break this mystery down. The report calls this phenomenon the GenAI Divide. And it's not some gentle curve where some companies do a little better than others. No, it's a cliff. A tiny 5% are unlocking millions and millions in real value, while pretty much everyone else is stuck on the other side with absolutely nothing to show for it. And, this isn't just in the data. You can hear the frustration from leaders on the ground. This quote from a CIO really just sums it all up, doesn't it? Most of what they're being sold feels like a gimmick, what he calls wrappers, basically just thin layers over old tech or science projects, not genuine, useful solutions. So if you're one of the 95% on the wrong side of this divide, what does that actually look and feel like? Well, the report paints a very clear picture of high hype, but incredibly low transformation. What's really fascinating here is the industry breakdown. I mean, despite all the noise, all the headlines, only two major sectors, tech and media, are showing any kind of real structural change. For everyone else, from finance to manufacturing, it's pretty much just talk. And this slide right here gets to the absolute heart of the problem. Companies are experimenting like crazy. 60% have piloted enterprise AI tools. But just look at that drop-off. Only 5% of those tools ever make it into actual daily use. They call this the pilot to production chasm, and it's basically where good intentions go to die. And here's the great paradox in all of this. While these expensive, official, company-approved tools are failing left and right, a shadow AI economy is absolutely booming. Your employees are using their own personal AI subscriptions to get real work done, completely bypassing the official systems. And the scale of this is just massive. A full 90% of employees are using personal AI tools for their job, while only 40% of their companies have even bothered to buy official licenses. So the demand for AI, that's not the problem. The tools the companies are providing, that's the problem. Okay, so this brings us to the real heart of the issue. Why are these enterprise tools failing so badly when personal tools are thriving? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple. The crucial question is this. Why the disconnect? Why does an employee trust their own personal ChatGPT account for a quick draft, but then just roll their eyes when IT introduces some new fancy custom AI solution? The answer is all about what these enterprise tools are missing. They don't remember your feedback. You have to feed them the exact same context over and over and over again. You can't really customize them, and they completely break the second you go a little off script. They're just static. The report identifies this as the single biggest barrier to success. They call it the learning gap. See, it's not about the quality of the core AI model itself. It's about the system's inability to retain information, to adapt to your specific needs, and to actually get smarter over time. In short, they can't learn. This data really shows that learning gap in action. For simple, one-off stuff like drafting an email, 70% of people are happy to use AI. But for complex, long-term projects that need memory and context, 90% would rather work with a human colleague. The dividing line isn't intelligence, it's memory. Okay, so if the learning gap is the problem, how do the 5% of winners get it right? Well, it turns out they follow a completely different playbook for buying and implementing AI. So to understand how the winners do it, let's first look at where most companies are spending their money. About half of all AI investment is going into these flashy front office functions like sales and marketing. It's visible, the metrics seem easy to track. But, and this is a big but, the report found that the real measurable ROI, it's not there. It's in the boring back office functions. We're talking millions saved by automating procurement, slashing agency spend, and getting rid of outsourced processing. The biggest wins are happening where nobody is looking.
So here it is, the playbook for success, boiled down into 3 key steps. First, the winners demand business outcomes, not just a list of software features. They focus on the what, not the how. Second, they empower their frontline managers, the people who actually know the workflows, to drive the search for solutions. And third, they realize they don't have to build it all themselves.
And that last point is absolutely critical. The data shows that projects built through strategic partnerships are literally twice as likely to succeed as internal builds. The winners buy, they don't build. They find partners who specialize in creating these learning systems for their very specific problems. Now, if you're on the wrong side of this divide, there's a real sense of urgency here. The chance to get this right, it's not going to last forever. According to the report, there is an 18-month window. In that time, the winning companies will choose their partners and start training these learning systems. And once an AI starts learning your specific workflows and your data, it creates a massive, massive competitive advantage. This quote from a CIO at a major financial firm says it all perfectly. The more you teach an AI, the more valuable it becomes, and the harder it is to ever switch away from it. These learning systems create powerful, defensible moats around a business. So the key takeaway here is that the GenAI divide isn't about having the fanciest technology. It's about having the right approach. It's about focusing on learning systems, empowering your teams to find real problems, and choosing the right partners wisely. This divide is being drawn as we speak, which leaves just one final question to think about. Which side will your organization be on?